again, but it's the only way.
Good evening, everybody. It's Monday. It's NUFC Matters, and it would not be the same Monday without a little bit of fans forum. And as always, I'm joined by the main man, Chris Hall. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm okay, mate. Feeling a bit under the weather, I'm not going to lie. But it's Christmas week, isn't it? So got to keep the spirits up, Pete.
Got to keep ticking on, mate. Got to keep ticking on. Just like our team, Newcastle United, we need to
absolutely.
keep ticking on. I hate to use that phrase because Steve Bruce used it one time, but it's we're not going to think about him anymore. But we do. It's been a tough period so far, mate.
It has.
It really has. And it hasn't got any easier with our game yesterday against Man City. 4-0 defeat. I'm sure we're going to get into it because I know we've got a couple of guests waiting that really want to get their teeth into Newcastle United at the moment. But just really from your perspective, Chris, what were your general thoughts about the game yesterday?
I say this every repeat, just real disappointment. But for me, do you know what? I'm gonna focus it on one player tonight, and I don't normally do that. But I tell you what, Joe Willock was a fucking disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I mean, I sent you the video, didn't I, of the second goal? Now, even Carragher highlighted it, which he was absolutely right to. Good finish, not taking that away from him. The two central defenders could have done better in Clark and Lascelles. You know the way they closed, and then they both tried to close him, and then both turned away and left a big hole through the middle of them, which is where he'd shoot. So that was really disappointing. But for me, Willock for that goal is unforgivable. Like literally, I would hopefully Eddie Howe highlights that to him after the game, and he shows him what it looks like to the average fan like myself, like you, and everyone at the game, what it looks like for what he did for that second goal. I just think it's unforgivable. He throws out a lazy leg, and then Cancelo whizzes past him, and then he just looks on and jogs back so lazily. Unforgivable, mate. And no wonder he got subbed at half time. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. So I'm hoping that Eddie Howe really gets at him. And if he starts against Man United, I'd be very surprised. Very, very, very surprised, because that for me that just wasn't good enough. I mean, Big Joe, to talk about the positives, Big Joe. So Joe Linton, I thought he was great again. It was we're seeing a completely different player. To talk positives, Big Joe was great. And Saint-Maximin looked a little bit more lively with him coming on in a cameo. Obviously, the game was done by then. But, do you know the frustrating thing for me, Pete? And maybe this is me being deluded, and people in the chat, if you think I'm being deluded, please pull me up on it. But there was moments in that game where I thought we could get something here. I don't think we faced a City on song, if you like. Now, obviously, they have their moments and, they have their flashes of brilliance. And when you've got a team full of fantastic players, that's always going to happen. Yeah. But I just felt that, we could have nicked something from that game. I mean, well, we will talk about it later, but that penalty shout, I was having an argument with a couple of my mates over it. They're convinced that wasn't a penalty. And I haven't spoken to them since, actually.
Chris, go on. Sorry, finish your point.
I just... One of the lads I spoke to, he was saying that he felt that if you watch the replay a few times, Fraser kind of runs towards Ederson like he knows that's going to happen. Now, whether or not that's what the VAR people have seen, I don't know. But I was trying to say to him, at the end of the day, if you're in the box and you get taken out by the goalkeeper and you're nowhere near the ball, it's a penalty. It's a penalty. There's no two ways about it. I mean, Everton fans were calling for Van Dijk to get all kinds of punishment, weren't they, when he took when Pickford took Van Dijk out?
Yeah.
What's the difference? If Fraser got a really, really serious injury, what is the difference? Because for Ederson, I'm not saying he did it maliciously, obviously he didn't, but he missed times coming for the ball. He didn't get near the ball, and he took our player out in the penalty box. It's a penalty. I don't care what anyone says, it's a penalty.
Chris, I 100% agree with you with regards to the penalty, 100%. And you know what? I've just before this show, I've just come off a Man City podcast, just a brief talking about the game, and I could not believe that some of the Man City fans on that show were adamant it wasn't a penalty. I couldn't believe that was their viewpoint. One of the Man City fans, the guy that runs the show, great guy, he was in agreement with us, and he actually used the example that you've just used.
I haven't even watched the show yet. I'll have to catch up on it.
The Jordan Pickford Van Dijk situation, he used exactly that as a way of describing actually, I think it was a penalty. And I couldn't believe it when they were adamant that it wasn't, and they basically used the same excuse that the referee eventually did, that Cancelo had the ball and was running away with the ball. It doesn't matter. So what we're saying is, if there's a ball contested in the midfield and someone slides in for a tackle, but then doesn't get anywhere near the ball, but cleans out the guy, that it's still not a free kick. Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're encouraging now on the football pitch? Because I thought we were looking at protecting players. In those situations, players could get seriously hurt, and it's okay to carry on. So if it's okay to happen on the middle of the pitch, is it okay to happen in the penalty area? I don't think so. I think both would be considered free kicks, and in that case, it should be a penalty. I think it's just an absolute joke. And I know we'll get onto this in a second, because I've got some opinions on referees at the moment, and certainly that particular referee in that situation. But I do agree with you with regards to Joe Willock. He isn't playing well at the moment, and you know what disappoints me about it all is the fact that he went on to Newcastle.com. And had an interview before this game against Man City, and was talking about, he's building and he's going to get better, and he feels better in himself, and he kind of, like, his interview built himself up as if he's going to have a big performance against Man City, and then he has an absolute shocker and gets rightly dragged at half time. It doesn't look good at the moment. He's still 22 years old. He's still a young lad, and I think he will grow into becoming a good player for the club, but he needs to understand that he needs to do more, whether it's more running, whether it's tracking, whether it's tackling. A centre midfield role is very, very different to playing as an attacking midfielder. But he's had enough time to adapt to that role now, in my opinion, and he needs to really, really show us something and start to kick on. It's not about goals and assists. We're not even talking about that. You haven't even.
No, we're not. We're not.
We're talking about performances.
Yeah.
Playing well. You can play well without scoring a goal or getting an assist, and he's not doing any of those things at the moment.
And you know what, Pete? You're absolutely right. You're right. We're not talking about numbers. We're talking about, just keeping the game ticking over, to use that expression again. Keeping us ticking over, keeping the ball moving, and getting us up the pitch. He's not even doing the basics right, Pete. And when you see a lack of effort, that's where I draw the line. Then I just think, well, if you can't be asked, then we can't be asked with you. And I wouldn't have him, honestly. I wouldn't have him anywhere near the 11 right now. I really wouldn't.
I'm inclined to agree with you 110%. But I'm sure lots and lots of people, we can already see it in the chat.
Yeah.
Yano's in there. Yes, my singing voice is fantastic, Yano. Thank you for raising that point. If anyone in the chat hasn't seen it, I highly put out the NUFC Matches Christmas video, which I was shocked and surprised to see put out so early. It's one that I definitely have kept away from the family, so they haven't yet seen it. But if you haven't checked it out, check out Holly's Twitter account. She sent it out today. A very comical but enjoyable couple of minutes. Just saying thank you to you guys in the chat and everyone that supports NUFC Matters. Just a massive thank you to you all. Lots and lots of really good questions and really good opinions in the chat. Keep them coming. But we have so many guests in the studio tonight that want to have their say. Some new, some old, and all have fantastic opinions 100%. And we're going to start with a regular, the main man. Welcome in Chris A. How you doing, Chris?
Great. Thanks for calling me old.
No. Not old in age, Chris. The old in age is old in terms of you're a stalwart of
I like that.
Of NUFC Matters. You're one of the old guard. That's
all right. God.
Talk to us then. What's your points, Chris?
So much I could talk about tonight, but I'll keep it short. So actually, with our historically bad start, we're within touching distance of safety. I know it's a little bit messed up with Watford on 2 less games than us, only playing 16 games. But if you just look at the points as of now, we are of course, we're on 10 points after 18 matches, which is terrible. But we're only 3 points from Watford on their 16 games, and we're 6 points from Leeds. So it's 3 points from 17th, 6 points from 16th, and 7 points from 15th. So I think you can almost sort of say that 15 to 20 is sort of like a mini league for the rest of the season, and half of those teams will go down, and the other half will be safety. Even someone like as negative towards us as Simon Jordan is still believing in us. He has. I sort of agree with him in terms of the other teams he has. He has Norwich and Watford going down. So I think we could see the 3 teams. It's still sort of an outside chance, but we could we'll probably see at least 2 of the 3 teams that were promoted this season to go down. So I would include Norwich and Watford. And so it's a question of if you accept that, then you say, okay, so then there's like 3 more teams that are in contention for the third relegation spot. So we are essentially competing. Obviously, we're still competing against Norwich and Watford. They're not down yet, and they're on the same or more points than us. So we can't say that they're nailed on if we're the same points. And we're saying, well, we're not nailed on to go down. Obviously, we have January, but we'll talk about that. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of like I think this season we'll see like an accumulation of points, to use the Bruce phrase, that will be historically low. I mean, normally we talk about you need 40 points to assured safety, but I think this season I don't know what the historically low points in the 20-game Premier League season is to stay up, but I think like 34 points is possible. Like you only need like 34 points to stay up the season. Our goal difference won't help us, but that's almost like an extra point. Or extra point loss. So it's essentially, let's say 34 points. So we need 24 points for the rest of the season, and we're about to go halfway through the season. So that seems like we're probably gonna have to win, a clip of every other game. And we've had win streaks, and the other teams will go on poor streaks. So it's not just us playing in isolation. It's going to be, other teams around us will have bad streaks. So we'll see, we will get some help from the teams around us. As far as the January window, everyone will say, well, we need to replace our whole defense. I don't think it's realistic to get like 4 new defenders in for the January window. I think what we're going to see is probably maybe 2 signings and a couple of loans, because we're to get the better players in, we might need to have like a relegation clause in there, which would sort of lend itself more towards loans. So I mean, I would definitely, we've always talked about the spines, definitely center backs, because it's pretty ridiculous that we just don't have any better options even on the squad than Lascelles and Clark, which are our starting center backs in the championship season. Mm-hmm. And I wonder what you guys think about why Clark keeps getting a little look. Is it just because there's been injuries and it's sort of like he's the guy that's staying healthy and not on red cards, so that he gets to be, as long as he's healthy, sort of not nailed on for a start. There's been certain games when he hasn't started, but he does seem kind of like the most, not reliable in a good sense, but reliably in this as a selection, whether it's Bruce or Jones or Howe to be in there.
I'm just going to stop you there because I want to wrap. I want to
Yeah.
get Chris's opinions on some of your points. 'Cause I think you
Sure,
made
sure.
some really good points. So Chris H. Too many Chris's. From Chris's perspective, I hope you can still hear us. Chris A's made some really good points. Okay, first and foremost, the points accumulation. Now, it's a really interesting point, and it's one that a number of people, and in fact, I don't know if you're aware or watched the video from Talksport where Simon Jordan actually talks about us in a positive light, and he thinks we're actually going to stay in the league, whereas Danny Murphy doesn't believe that we will, and he was actually positive about us for a change, and he talked about those accumulation of points and that there's so many teams playing bad at the moment that there's a great chance with a good January window we could potentially get out of that. So firstly, I want to get your opinion on that, but also talking about what Chris Hayes also mentioned about, you know, potential signings, how many we could potentially sign. And, you know, I just wanted to get your thoughts on those couple of things because I think they're really good points that have been raised.
Yeah, no, I agree. In terms of the accumulation of points, Chris, for me, I do agree with what Simon Jordan said based on what you've said. I mean, I haven't heard his.
I'll just send you the link, Chris.
Oh, if you just sent me the link, yeah, I'll have a watch of it. But no, I agree with what you were saying, Chris. You know, in terms of, I think we're very, very fortunate this season in that there's a lot of dross down there. Now, I know I've said that in previous seasons, but this season even more so.
Yeah.
We're lucky in the sense that we're having a bad run. But this run is horrendous. We've had one win in 18, is it, or something silly like that. But when you look across, across the league, we're like 3, 4, 5, 6 points behind teams. So those teams are having equally bad runs. It's just that it's not being highlighted as much. As soon as we put together, I mean, we spoke about this before, Pete and Chris. I'm sure we have as well, mate. If we put a run of 3 back-to-back wins together, imagine how far up the table we'll go.
No.
And you know, you've got the likes of Norwich, Chris. You've highlighted that. You've got Watford, Southampton aren't doing great. Burnley aren't doing great. Leeds are dropping like a brick. I'm surprised no one's talking about Leeds because Leeds are really in trouble. You know, there's 5 teams I've just mentioned, and that's without talking about the likes of Palace, who have been doing really well. But mark my words, Palace will drop, as will Brentford.
Brighton as well.
Brighton
having a shocker at the moment.
Yeah, this is it. And, you know, so there you go, Pete. There's 8 teams we've just mentioned, and we've not even included ourselves in that. So, you know, Wolves started the season really well. And don't get me wrong, I think Wolves will be fine because I do think they have a decent squad. But Wolves aren't guaranteed safety because, again, they're struggling. Everton have been playing pretty badly. I know under Rafa they should have enough, but will that last? Will they have to get rid of Rafa? Will they bring in a new manager? Will he hit the ground running? Potentially not. So that's certainly what I'd say in the points accumulation. As yet, I'm still not worried, as in I'm panicking over relegation. Everything points to relegation. I'm not saying it doesn't. But this January transfer window is going to be huge, and that leads me nicely on to your next point about the transfers. I think the transfer strategy is going to be changing quite rapidly based on what we're seeing. I originally, Chris, I agree with you. I thought it would probably be a couple of permanent signings, a couple of loans. I now think we might go in for permanent ones and just get them in. Now, it may be that we get in more safer signings. So the likes of Tarkowski, we may get in signings who we look at and think, you know what, he'll do us for 18, 24 months. Yeah. I don't think we're going to get in any superstars. I'd love that Vlahovic from Fiorentina. I'd love him. But the trouble that we've got is he will look at that league table and think, that's the only thing stopping us. He could be one for the summer. I know that he's refused to sign a new contract, but there's lots of players out there where, you know, they can come in and make a difference. And what's wrong if we spend 20-30 million on securing our Premier League status by bringing in 3 or 4 decent Premier League players who could potentially still do a job for us in the Championship, get us out of trouble, do the job that we need them to do, and then potentially move them on in, you know, 12 months or whatever. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. The main thing is to bring in the right players at the right time for the scenario that we're in right now. And that's maybe why we're looking at this director of football, in terms of we need that Premier League experience. You could go and get in a superstar director of football, but we need someone ideally right now who knows the Premier League and knows what, has got a real good foundation to build on, because right now I don't think we should be taking risks, and potentially that's what we've done with Eddie Howe, in the sense that I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that we've settled for Eddie Howe. I don't believe that, but there's definitely a plan in mind, in that if we do go down, Eddie Howe would probably be the number one target, wouldn't we? If we were in the Championship, Eddie Howe would be the number one Championship manager that we'd look at. And I think maybe that's why we're going down this director of football route. Bring in someone who's experienced in the Premier League and will no doubt have loads of contacts within the Premier League, rather than bringing in a superstar director of football who's worked in Italy, Spain. We don't really need those kind of players right now. Maybe get one or two, but you need players who you can trust. That's my opinion anyway.
No, I think it's a great point. Some really, really good points there about the transfers, about the accumulation of the points. I have to agree with a lot of what you've said, Chris. But I'm sure we're going to get a little bit more into this. The guests are growing. So Chris,
aren't they? Yeah, we've got loads.
They are growing. So I'm going to limit the time to make sure, because I want to hear everybody's points of view tonight. But Chris, first one on, as always, absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. Thank you for always kind of taking the time. You definitely deserve one of these.
Thanks, lads. Always my pleasure.
No problem. You take care, Chris.
Take care, Chris. Keep singing, mate. Keep singing.
Yeah, definitely keep singing. 110%. Yeah, great points to kick off the show from the guests. Accumulation points is going to be interesting. Very, very interesting. And you're right. There's so many teams that are not playing well at the moment.
No.
Leeds are right in the mix. You are 100% right. They've got so many injuries, but even so, and I said this to another Newcastle fan I was chatting to the other day, Leeds are not playing well, but even with their better players, their system seems to have fallen flat. That attacking, pacey, counter-attacking style of football, even with all their players fit at the beginning of the season, they weren't playing the same way. And it does seem to me that the Bielsa magic is just starting to disappear slightly. This is one of the longest times he's spent at a club. Bearing in mind he was managed them for a couple of years in the Championship as well. Going into 4 years now of managing a team, for him it's a long time. He doesn't spend this long at teams, because when you're, and the injuries doesn't surprise me, because with Leeds United, when you're playing that dynamic, pacey, intense type of football, you cannot sustain that season upon season. Players are going to pick up injuries on the back of that. And if you look at last season and the seasons before, he pretty much played the same team every time. You cannot afford to do that. We saw that with Liverpool last season. They had 2 seasons of unbelievable, majestic football, and then all of a sudden you picked up injuries and they start to drop off because they can't maintain it. Now you're seeing this season, they're coming back into it. And I think this season could, and don't forget, it's a second season syndrome as well for Leeds. Yeah, they could potentially get caught. So they're a team that I'm keeping my eye on for
Pete,
sure.
I had a question for you, mate. And do you know what? I thought of this the other day, and I thought I'm going to mention this on the rant. And weirdly, it works out perfectly, because we were just talking about Leeds. Yeah. Question for you, Pete. With Leeds now in doubt over their Premier League status, because let's be honest, their owners will be getting twitchy now. 1,000,000%. They'll be worried. The form they're in. They're currently sitting on 16 points, so they're 5 points above the drop zone. With all to play, do you think if we were to come in January for the likes of Rafinha, Phillips, will they look and think, hang on, say we come in, Pete, with 40 million for Phillips or Rafinha? Just went 40 mil. There it is on the table. Are you interested? Knowing that if they get relegated, they're not going to get that price in the Championship, because they just won't, and then the player will ask to leave, which will force the price down again. There'll be a drop in the wages. They'll have the relegation clause. There'll probably be a relegation clause for them to leave at a cheaper price. Do they accept a bid for Rafinha or Phillips?
Great question.
I'm saying that too. It might be someone else, Pete, but they're the two that I'd have my eye on.
They're the 2 standout players for me. I don't think, and the goalkeeper. I do rate the goalkeeper.
Melier, yeah,
he's a very good goalkeeper. For me, I don't think so. Do I think both of them will be there this time next year? No. I think both will leave in the summer. I think both will get snapped up by bigger clubs. We've got the money to test their resolve. That's the key. If we really wanted to, I'm not saying that we would, but if we wanted to, we've got the money to slap down that would massively ask some questions at the top of the board level at Leeds, and certainly to the player. It would show a real intent. But
if you were a Phillips or a Rafinha, sorry, Pete, if you were a Phillips or a Rafinha, and Newcastle came in with 40 million, and the Leeds owners were like, all right, let the player decide. Would you fancy your chances staying up with Newcastle, or would you fancy your chances staying up with Leeds, knowing that we were going to be bringing in maybe 2 or 3 other players?
Silly question, Chris. Of course, I'd be stuck. The comment. Before they even rang me on the phone, I'd be past the Scots Corner on the way up. On the way up, mate. If you're talking to me, but obviously being a Newcastle fan, I would say that. But
better chance of staying up, though, Pete.
I think they would want to look around to see what else we brought in. I don't think they'd have a problem with the manager. I don't think they'd have a problem with the club. The club's going places. And it's one point that actually Danny Murphy mentioned, which is a really, really interesting point. Considering Danny Murphy talks a lot of shit about Newcastle, he did say, we're going through a bad moment right now, but better times are ahead. Whether we get relegated this season or whether we don't, Newcastle will be in a much better position come a couple of years, 3 years time. And Danny Murphy said that, and I've been reiterating that on my tweets after games and things for a long time. Yes, we're going for a shit moment, and it's a hard watch right now, but this isn't going to last forever. No. Whether it's this season or next, whether we get relegated or not, we are going to be in that position where we're challenging. There is no doubt about it. So do I think they would consider moving to us if the board accepted a deal for Newcastle? Yeah, I think they would, without a doubt. But I don't think that would happen in January. I think both players will stay until the end of the season. I think they'll both go to other clubs in the summer. I don't think neither of them will be there, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But fantastic question that, for sure. But we're going to bring on a different guest. You've been waiting patiently. Welcome in. Interesting to see his points here. Nathan. How you doing, Nathan?
All right, Pete. Chris, how are we?
Very good.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having us on. It's my first time on here. I've listened for a while, so I was like, well, I've got to come on eventually. And after watching yesterday, I've got a fair few points to make for sure. I don't know about you lads, but I'm still quite positive and optimistic after the last 3 games. On paper, we've scored 1 goal and conceded 11, which is shocking. It's relegation worthy, but for some reason, I'm still quite positive after them 3 games. I know there were games where you think, well, anything other than a loss is a plus. You never see us, maybe Leicester because of the state of the team they're in and coming back from Italy Friday morning. But definitely Liverpool and Man City, arguably the best teams in the world right now. We never expected to pick up points, and if we did, it was a plus. But unfortunately, we haven't. But I still feel quite positive. I mean, the 4 goals. I mean, we all saw on the way to when we're all making our way to the stadium. You look at the team sheet. The first person you see, everyone turned their noses up. Well, apart from the whole back 4 was Kieran Clark, arguably the guy that cost us 3 points against Norwich by himself. And we thought, well, this guy's going to have a blinder. He has to have an absolute blinder. And I was sat in the Gallagher, and the Gallagher end actually booed him when they called his name. When they said
really?
number five, whatever it is, Kieran Clark, there was booing. I don't really agree with that. Yeah, I don't agree with that. That wasn't for me. But I was like, he's obviously gone very sour on everyone, and he will probably be out the door in January. But he needed a blinder yesterday, and it wasn't even 5 minutes into the game. And lo and behold, I mean, I threw abuse at Clark after that goal, and on the way home, I was thinking, well, was it Dubravka making a call?
I said the same, mate. I said the same.
But if you watch it back, and I've watched it a few times, Dubravka's body language of when the ball went over Clark, he was on his heels a little, but he snapped back forward as soon as the ball went, like he wasn't expecting the ball to go over Clark.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, it doesn't look like he's made the call to come for that. And
No,
I don't know what anyone else would say. I think the defenders would just shout, "Get rid." So I put that down to Clark, essentially. The second goal, you've touched on this. I mean, Cancelo, you can't take it away from him. They are a great team, Man City. And it stints in that game. It was men against boys. But Willock, he's even openly said himself, he's an attacking midfielder. He's a cam. He's a centre attacking mid. But he was so passive past Cancelo. He didn't even make a challenge. He just got walked past. It was disgraceful. It was horrible. You were saying, Chris, and then Hayden, he slipped arguably, but he was square on with his man. He wasn't side on, and which kind of forced him to slip.
Yeah.
And then Clark and Lascelles come across. Look, I played Sunday League, and that's as far as I got. I was crap at football, but I know I wasn't even a defender, and I know myself. You cannot turn your back on the ball.
No,
because you're not looking at the ball. And these guys have turned their backs and then leant to either side, and the ball's going right through the middle of them. And it's like you can't take anything away from the finish, but it's school. But it's it's like a V shape, and the ball's and it was horrible to watch. And then the other two goals. I mean, I love Matt Ritchie. Honestly, he was my favourite player, but he is not a defensive worthy player. He's not. It doesn't come second nature to the guy. If he doesn't leave in January, he should be pushed upfield, and we need to invest in a left back because the amount of space. He was 3 seconds behind everyone else. You can see the ball goes in the net, and then Matt Ritchie arrives, and it's too late, unfortunately. It doesn't come naturally to the guy. I've tried to defend him. I like him. I love his passion.
Yeah,
but it doesn't. It's unacceptable. And the defense is championship. It is a championship back four. It's been said on the telly. And they're right. It is. It's not good enough, and it's probably the worst back four we've seen at our club for a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
I just want just before I pass it on to Chris, because I'll be interested in Chris's points from what you've raised, Nath. But I just wanted to mention with Matt Ritchie, I agree with you. I love Matt Ritchie. I love his passion. I love his determination for the game. But he was the worst player on the pitch on Sunday. He was atrocious at left back, and his partner, the other full back on the other side, wasn't much better. He wasn't far behind him for being the worst player on the pitch. They were both dreadful. And yes, it's not their position, but I want everyone to go back and watch the fourth goal. Which, if I'm right, thinking, well, the Sterling goal. I think it's the fourth goal.
That was the last goal.
And I want it shows kind of like a bird's eye view of the goal as it comes about, slightly bird's eye view, and you watch Matt Ritchie's starting point. He's already out of position, but actually he's nearer to goal than Raheem Sterling. And then you watch the move unfold on the left-hand side of the pitch for then the ball to come into the box. And you just look how he just is not aware of what's going on around him whatsoever. No defensive-minded attitude to the game, and the way that just it was almost without trying that Sterling just ghosts into the box and taps it into an empty net. And you look at the distance between where Ritchie and Sterling started away from each other, and then you look at where Sterling ends up. Sterling ends up 3 or 4 yards in front of Ritchie, and he just rolled past him. And I'm thinking, how is that allowed to happen at Premier League level? He might not be a fullback, but he knows how to track players, because as a winger, you have to track players anyway. It's part of your job. How is he allowed a player to ghost past him in that position with so much ease? He knows Raheem Sterling's a top world-class winger. He's a top world-class player. You cannot afford to allow him to ghost past you like that. It was an absolute joke. But I just wanted to get that point out there. And I want everyone to just go back and watch that point on Sky, that point of view situation where that unfolded with Matt Ritchie. And that tells you everything you need to know. I think if it does go in January, it will probably be for the best that he moves on, because let's face it, with the other wingers that are available, he's not getting in above them. Although we love him, he's not getting in above them if we say, right, you're only a winger now. And we need to get another left back in with Jamal Lewis going to be out for a significant period of time. We need a natural left back that can come in and take on that role. So I actually think at the moment, Matt Ritchie hasn't got a place in this team. And I think with us looking to kind of fill or open up places in this squad with the likes of Kieran Clark that needs to just leave. Matt Ritchie might actually be one of them, and it might be one of those, sad decisions, but decision being made for the right reasons. But Chris, I want to get your opinions on what Nathan said, because he made some great points, obviously about the game, but also about Kieran Clark in the Dubravka situation. I want to get your opinion on that. The booing. I was aware of that. Someone mentioned to me after the game that there was some booing from the Gallagher when Kieran Clark was in the game. Just your opinions on those things that Nathan made. Some really good points there.
Yeah, I tell you what, Nathan, great debut, mate. Great debut, because all the stuff you were saying,
mate.
I was finding myself nodding. Like, it was funny because I'd done a voice note to the lads during the game, and the first thing that I said on the voice note, Pete, and you'll tell me that I did say this, was I wasn't sure whether you could fully blame Kieran Clark for that goal. I was a bit like, because I can't believe that he's chosen to leave it, and I was thinking, why has he left it? But when I watched the replay, I was waiting to see Dubravka's mouth open or whatever, and as Pete rightly said, the way he was stood, there's been no communication there, has there?
Yeah.
I think Dubravka has thought Kieran Clark got this, and Kieran Clark's thought Dubravka's got this, and that's just not acceptable. It really is.
So in that situation, Chris, just want to add. So in that situation, if nobody's called, what do you think needs to happen there? What's your opinion on what should happen in that situation? The ball's come into the box, up in the air. Nobody's called for it. What should happen in that situation?
I don't like saying this, because I'm kind of, well, I know where I'm putting the finger. The keeper comes out and he takes everything and everyone out to get that ball. That's what should happen. In my opinion, that's what should happen. But Kieran Clark, his job, unless he gets told otherwise, is to get rid of the ball.
Well, that's it. You've got what, 10 players behind you, and you think, oh, I can just leave the ball without any call.
Yeah.
There had to be something there to tell him.
So they're both at fault for me, because I blame Dubravka not for the goal, but I blame him for the leadership. Because if the goalie should be saying, get it, or it's mine, or he obviously hasn't made that call. So Kieran Clark should have cleared it. But if I'm a goalie and I think I could get it, which I believe he could have, he should be not even worrying about hitting Kieran Clark. He should be just going straight through the back, claiming it, punching it, getting rid of it. But I'm not taking anything away there from Kieran Clark, because Kieran Clark should not have left that ball, especially if he hasn't heard anything. So really, they're both at fault, but really Kieran Clark should have cleared it. Going on to your point about Ritchie, I don't know how many more times we have to see players ghosting in at the back post and just slotting it home for the manager to, whether it be Bruce, whether it be Howe, to just let Ritchie go. Because I'm not being funny. He's obviously, you're right in what you say, Pete. He's obviously not any more of the required standard as a midfielder. He obviously isn't, because he's not even considered for it. Yeah. And this is what I was saying, Pete, at the start of the season when it comes to Jacob Murphy. Jacob Murphy is only trusted at right back or right wing back. He's no longer trusted in right midfield. And that's because he's not deemed good enough to play at right midfield. And that's why he's been shifted into right wing back or right back. And that's why, sadly, even though I like him, I think he needs to go as well. Yeah. They are midfielders who are playing in defence, and they're not good enough to play in defence. In the Premier League, you get caught out. And
Go on, finish
oh no, I was going to say that is why we're suffering. I would 10 times over, I would rather see a Jamal Lewis, which I know he couldn't play, or a Manquillo play at right back and left back than Jacob Murphy or Matt Ritchie, because we can't carry these players anymore. And I hate saying it, because I love Matt Ritchie. I think Matt Ritchie, as a footballer and as a leader, I think he's outstanding. I think he's superb, in terms of, he's doing the shouting, he's leading people, he's telling people when they're doing stuff wrong, he's jeering the players on. That's what you need. But in terms of ability, he's not a left back. And if he's not good enough to be playing in midfield, he shouldn't be at the club. And I'm sorry to say that, but
I agree. I used to describe Matt Ritchie and Jacob Murphy currently. I always use the phrase square pegs in round holes, in that they are okay players, but they don't fit a system. Jacob Murphy is okay as a right wing back. Okay, he's not.
He's okay.
There
Yeah.
are many other players that I would want ahead of him. I actually think Manquillo can play right wing back better than Jacob Murphy,
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion. And he's not fulfilling the role that he was signed for. He was signed for a winger, which you quite rightly said, Chris, and he's not fulfilling the role. The same with Matt Ritchie. Matt Ritchie was a right winger, effectively, when he came into the club. Played some games on the left. He is not a wing back and he's not a left back. So therefore, we need to cut our losses, in my opinion. Or as much as we love them, Jacob Murphy's, effectively a Geordie. He supports the club, and that's all well and good. But we need players that know how to play in their prime position in a system that Eddie Howe is putting together. And these guys don't fit it. So these guys, in my opinion, need to be looking at moving on. And if I was Eddie Howe, I'd certainly be looking at moving both of them on.
Pete, can I just add in there, by the way?
Yeah,
and
go.
I thought this was maybe over-egging it a bit. And the longer I thought about it, I was like, actually, no. After the match against City, Carragher said they need 4 new defenders. And at first I thought, whoa, hang on, 4 new defenders? What do we need 4 new defenders? And then when I went through them all, I was like, yeah, we need 4 new defenders. The left back's no good, the right back's no good, and the 2 centre backs. And Jamie Redknapp said it, which again some people may disagree with. You know, he said Andy needs a new goalie as well. Now, I like Dubravka, and he's arguably one of our better goalkeepers we've had in recent times. But since he's come back from injury, you know, for where we want to be in 3 or 4 years, do we still want Martin Dubravka as the number 1? I am now starting to doubt it a little bit. And it's these little things. But again, maybe I'm being too harsh. Because if he had a solid back 4 in front of him, I don't think we'd be seeing all the mistakes that we are.
You're only as good as the defence in front of you, aren't you?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You are.
I've got an opinion on that, and Nathan's kind of already touched on it. But what do you think about Dubravka, really quickly, Nath? Do you think we need to sort of think about moving him on, or are you happy with him to stay for the time being?
For me, obviously, with how football is nowadays, 30 years old, you'd deem, a few years ago, you'd deem that too old to be a footballer. But nowadays, when you're getting older, like Salazar is still in his prime. He's probably the best player in the world right now. He's, 31, 32, is the same age as Dubravka. So you could have arguably a couple more years with Martin in goal. But in January, I'd be looking for a good, maybe we have 4 keepers that we need to address, obviously. But I'd be getting a good number 2 to get up his backside and get him going. I would look at someone like Dean Henderson from Man United, who's not getting game time, and put him right up Dubravka's backside and get him playing well. And if he doesn't, he's replaced. But I have confidence in the guy. I've watched him for, we've watched him for what, 4 or 5 years, and he saved our bacon on numerous occasions. And even against City, I saw one of the saves of the season when I was down the other end, when he was headed back and he dived. It was like cat-like reflexes. It was a fantastic save. So I still have confidence in him, but at 2 years max. But I would look for a replacement soon.
I have to agree. I think a friend of the show, Keith Patterson, has always said right from the beginning, if you're building a new team with new owners, you start from the spine, and it's a new goalkeeper, a commanding leading centre-back, a midfielder that is creative and got skill and ability to be able to create chances and dictate a game. And then you've got a goal scorer that knows how to put the ball in the net on a regular basis. And he's not wrong. We need to build that spine of the team. If we want to go to the places that we've talked about for the last 4 years, they are the players that we need to ultimately sign and spend heavily on, that spine of the team. I mean, my own personal opinion on Dubravka, I think he's still got another couple of years. I agree with you, Nathan. I personally think that that Martin Dubravka is not confident in the defenders that he has in front of him.
No, he's not.
And because of that, it's making his judgment in whether to come or stay in games. It's making him question his own abilities because he's not confident in the players that he's got in front of him. And then in particular, with the manager asking him to play out more from the back, and we saw, and I think Yano in the chat made a really good point about, and I've got it here. He He said it can't get loads of abuse, but what about the shit show Lascelles and Dubravka led to the corner kick? And you know what, Yano, you've
Yeah,
made it.
that doesn't get spoke about, does it?
It wasn't
Yeah.
ultimately we had the situations dealt with that stopped the goal from happening at that point, but it's a great point. And I think I don't think that Dubravka is the best on the ball, but I don't think he has the confidence in playing a ball to Lascelles and him being good on the ball to be able to deal with the situation. And I think ultimately he thinks that puts him under more pressure. And normally 9 times out of 10, Dubravka would just send that into Rose Ed and get the ball out of the way. And I think we need to go back to that. But Nathan, I'm going to stop there because we've got other callers waiting to come on. But an absolute fantastic debut. I hope you come back soon. Really, really great points, and get one of these.
Gents, it's been fantastic to be on the show. Thanks for having me. Hopefully see you guys soon.
Definitely.
Take care, Nathan. Cheers,
Thanks,
mate.
guys. See you later.
Great to have
Cracking
Nathan.
debut.
Yeah,
Debut.
cracking debut. Great points as always from our guests. And you know what, Chris, I'm just before we move on to the next one. I have to, otherwise I'll get shot, not by Steve, but the people in the guest, people in the chat, should I say, not the guest. Go through the sponsors. So if I don't start with this sponsor, I'll be in a lot of trouble, as we already know from previous shows. So Spider VPN for all your internet security. They are the boys to trust. If you want to protect your computer online, Spider VPN are the ones to go to. Skipsandbins.com, telephone 0800 2545 253. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free, and pay as you go waste collection. Family funerals directors, L&G, 0191 389 7245. Thank you for your support with NUFC Matters again this month. New sponsor, Garden of Healing Dispensary.
Good luck saying this, Pete.
I know, tell me about it. Got to build up to this one. CBD, hemp, and cannabinoid specialist. I think I got that right.
You did.
Don't quote me on it though. www.thegohd.com. Welcome our new sponsors. And then we've got Arcot Interiors. So again, another new sponsor. Big shout out to Chris and the lads. Google Arcot Interiors for top class kitchens. Now, I do plan to get my kitchen done in the new year. So if you're available in Leicester, I'll be definitely giving you guys a call 100%. So yeah, Arcot Interiors, get in touch for all your kitchen specialists. The main man, John Justice Allen, he's in the chat. Welcome, John. Hope you're well. Get my words out. qtech.co.uk. Makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle. qtechshop.co.uk. Get yourselves involved in there. And also Jab Signature. Massive support. Lots of new ranges in the build up to Christmas. So go to jabsignature.co.uk. Newcastle Legends logo. If you haven't already, hit the likes and hit the subscribe button. If you're a first-time visitor, check the link down below. And like I say, hit the thumb up and the like button to share. If you're not able to watch live, we are available on iTunes and Spotify. So get yourselves onto that. Follow NUFC Matters and listen back to the show. And we have a new one. We have the NUFC membership. So if you are a member, on your phone, you can scan the barcode and you can be entered into a monthly prize draw. Lots of really good prizes and goodies. Get yourself involved. The next prize draw should be coming soon. and a couple of events coming up. So we've got Pedro, the legend that is Peter Beardsley, on Sunday, the 30th of January, 2022 at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. And we've got the match day bucket. So if you're not able to make the game, please make your virtual donation at nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. Match day bucket, fantastic support to everyone that takes their time to help and support for the Newcastle NUFC Fans Food Bank. NUFCmatters.com for all your clothes and gifts in the Christmas months. I do love that jumper, to be fair. It's class. Absolutely class. Definitely get involved in that. And there's still copies of Every Boy's Dream from Steve Rafe. Christmas is not yet here. You still got your opportunities to get involved. And also got Paviliza Geordie available, along with Black or White, No Grey Areas, Lee Clark. Lots of Christmas gifts available for you to purchase. As I say, get yourself involved in that too. And I think that is that. So there are sponsors. Moving on to the next guest. He's always been in the chat every week, but he doesn't always come on. But I'm glad because he's made some really good points this week in our chat, in the London Boys chat. So I'm going to bring in Seb. How you doing, Seb?
What's good, guys?
You all right, mate?
All good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. So to be honest, I'm actually supposed to be on holiday, but because of the whole coronavirus, I just cancelled my trip. So I've just got 2 weeks off work and I'm just chilling indoors.
Where were you meant to go?
So I was supposed to go to Zambia. We got taken off the red list. So we got taken off the red list last Wednesday, but because of rising cases, I just made an executive decision to just not go because I didn't want to be stuck there, to be honest. So I could have worked out there, but yeah, it's just a bit too much of a risk, to be honest.
I agree. I agree with you. But look, Newcastle United, obviously a poor result against Man City yesterday. What are your opinions? What do you want to bring up tonight?
Yeah, the first thing, so Chris at the beginning of the show, he actually stole my thunder because I was actually going to bring up the same point that I think obviously we are, considering we've just lost 3 games in a row, we are still amongst it. So we are fairly lucky in that respect. Look, I've also heard people in some of the chats, some of our group chats saying that, oh, this goal is that person's fault, this goal is that person's fault. At the end of the day, we're playing against Man City, and I just believe, regardless of what our starting lineup was, whether we didn't play Clark, whether we played Shaw or Manquillo, I still believe we would have lost that game.
Yeah.
And I think goal difference is a major concern because I think we're way behind Burnley, Norwich and Leeds in goal difference now. So we're not quite cut adrift, but instead of being 3 points in, we're an extra point down. And one other thing I actually wanted to so I was listening to your YouTube show yesterday, and I heard you making that point about ASM being on the bench, and if he doesn't buck up his ideas, he could be gone in summer. So I just wanted your opinion. Do you think possibly, I could be jumping the gun here, but do you think maybe him and Howe may have fallen out, or do you think he was just dropped to the bench just for the sake of bad form?
Great question, and I've definitely got an opinion on this. And like you said, you've heard a little bit of it already, Seb. But I'm going to pass this on to Chris because I know Chris has got a very strong opinion on Mr. Saint-Maximin at the moment, and I've heard in the loaded chat that he's raised a few points about ASM. But again, great question from Seb. Do you think there's been some sort of fallout between ASM and Howe with regards to the way he's been playing?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And I know, Pete, we had we didn't have different opinions, did we? Because I think you saw my opinion, and I saw your opinion, and neither of us know who's correct. But for me, I think it's down to his lack of performance. I think it's down to his lack of performance, and I think words have been had because the big one for me was at that Liverpool match, and obviously I was at Anfield, I seen it, and that
Yeah.
whole my legs hanging off, I
Yeah.
can't play on, I can't play, and then the ball will come near him and he's sprint, and then he's going over to the bench and he's doing that, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking, come on, like, and then the worst thing for me, Seb, about that was then when he went off straight down the tunnel. Straight down the tunnel, and you've already spoken, Pete, haven't you, about Saint-Maximin dodging the fans towards the end of the game and coming over and doing a clap.
Leicester
He
away.
didn't do it, did he?
Yeah, went
And
straight down.
I wonder whether Eddie Howe is questioning his commitment to the cause. And that certainly I felt that way myself. Now, there's no doubt about it. On his day, Saint-Maximin's our best player. No doubt about it. He can get you out of trouble. He's got, skill in abundance. But if you're not fully up for it and you're not fully fighting for your team and you're not at it and wanting to do your best, that's a problem for me. That is a big problem. I think, Pete, you spoke about it was after the Leicester game. You were saying then for the upcoming fixtures against Liverpool, Man City, Man United, we need workers. I'd say Maximin is not a worker. You know, you can criticise the performances of the likes of Jacob Murphy or Ryan Fraser. Ryan Fraser's been running his socks off recently.
Mhm.
And I just don't think you see that from Saint-Maximin. And this is the issue. Saint-Maximin, on his day, when he turns up, fantastic. And he's such a mercurial player. And I love, those kind of flair type players. But at the same time, I also want to see a little bit of bite in them. I want to see a little bit of effort. And I want to see a little bit of commitment. And recently, I've just not been seeing that from Saint-Maximin. I even think as well, to be fair, I've not been going on social media as much recently, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that his social media has been quietening down a little bit, and it just makes me feel as if we spoke about this ages ago, didn't we, Pete? About maybe Saint-Maximin's starting to think I'm better than this, I can do better than this. Now, obviously, we've had our takeover, and brighter times are ahead, but right now we're in a dogfight, and we need people to fight. And I feel like he's kind of almost like give me a shout at the end of the season when we're back, when we've stayed up and all the good players turn up, then I'll start performing. But that for
Yeah.
me, that's not good enough. We need it now. We need players to be in the trenches and really get stuck in and really try to get us out this mess. And unfortunately, with Saint-Maximin, I've just not been seeing that the last few weeks.
I agree.
Yeah.
That Leicester game really, really pissed me off with ASM. I'm one of ASM's biggest fans, and I really thought that Eddie Howe coming in, you would see ASM really light up the Premier League with a more attacking emphasis. And I always remember watching, I was obviously there at the Brentford game, and I was watching him in the first half, and it was like he was trying too hard. He was taking on all these players, not releasing the ball to Richie or to Callum Wilson when he should be. And I thought, okay, he's just really he just really wants to try for the team, and he's just, it's kind of affecting his decisions. But as the games have gone on, he seems to have regressed. And he seems to be getting worse. And that Leicester game was the worst. So it was very, very clear that they had a three-man press. It would be Callum Wilson from the middle. It would be either Joe Linton or Miguel Miron from the right, and it would be ASM from the left. And it was working for the first 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden it stopped, and they just seemed to be able to get out with ease. And I was thinking, why is that happening? So I was watching the left-hand side, and ASM wasn't pressing. So the ball, whenever they played it out to their right, our left, they would get out so easily and start creating attacks. And it's because of his lack of press. He stopped doing what the team had been instructed to do. You can't have that for any team, let alone a team that's in a relegation battle. You need everybody fighting for your cause. And I think the main example of that is the performances of Ryan Fraser since he's come into the team, because he's pressing. He's holding that press. So our press is more effective. You look at the Liverpool penalty that should have been given, in my opinion. You look at the Man City one that should have been given. That's because of his high press. That's because of his pressing as a unit, that he's not allowing players in defence to have time on the ball. We cannot afford for them to bring it to the halfway line without it being challenged, and ASM does it time and time again. If we want to play a more front foot attacking style, we have to press forward. We have to move the team up the pitch. So if we move the team up the pitch, we keep them penned in their area. We win the ball high up, we've got a better chance of scoring goals and winning matches. And I don't think ASM is doing it. And this has been his biggest problem. ASM, even at Monaco, even at Nice, the reason why he was sold in both of those clubs is because they couldn't fit him into a system. He wasn't in a system with Steve Bruce. He was just told, or the team were just told, give it to ASM, he'll win us the game. Now he's got a manager that wants to fit him into a system in order to get the best out of him and the team, and he can't do it. For me, that's
I need this off you, and he's doing that. That's it.
I mean,
go on, Seb, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, in the second half of the season, there will be games where we win because of just because of him.
Yeah,
but in terms of, do you think it just comes down to the whole? Like, I don't just want to feel like we're putting the buck on him just because we've lost games, but do you feel maybe just the whole French mentality, Frenchies aren't up for it? I know, yeah, he's got a good attitude and that he embraces the culture of the club, but is he in danger of losing his untouchable status in terms of whoever we sign in January, him and Wilson are just untouchable? If he's not careful, is he going to lose that status?
Potentially. I mean, as Newcastle fans, we'll all agree we don't demand a team that wins. We demand a team that tries. And if you've got 11 players out on the pitch and you can see one of them isn't maybe putting a shift in, well, in fact, in this case, two of them, because Willock's the other one, that's a problem. That is a big problem. I mean, you look at some of the other players, and the quality is not great, but you'd never question their commitment or their effort. Kraft being a prime example. Kraft isn't very good, but Kraft always
puts in the effort.
He puts the effort in. He puts a shift in. I've never seen him and thought, he's not bothered. So I wouldn't question him in that case. But yeah, with Saint-Maximin, I'm hoping, Seb, that this is just a bit of a transition period. I'm just hoping that maybe he's, still trying to get up to speed with Eddie Howe. I'm still not 100% sure that he's fully fit, if I'm honest. I'm still not. I mean, every game he comes out with another bandage. He's going to end up having a bandage on his head soon because he's got the two on his ankles, the two on his kneecaps, and he's got them on his arms as well. So I don't know whether he's trying to send the message as if to say, I'm not fully fit. This is why I'm not performing. And on the odd time when he's sprinting, he still doesn't look comfortable. He looks like he's like working through a pain or something. I don't know whether you see that or whether that's just me, but it looks like it's a bit of an effort for him. But then other times when he's got the ball, it's like he forgets and he just sprints normal. So I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a mentality thing. Maybe he just needs to get that little bit fitter. And I'm sure if it clicks in place and he starts performing well and Eddie Howe's praising him and giving him, all the accolades, maybe we'll start to see a better, a more improved, more, a more improved attitude from him. Because at the moment, I just don't see that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, so it's a tough one because I was looking at the Liverpool lineup and I thought to myself, look, even if we lose, it's good that we're keeping all the squad players, because we need everyone to be fresh and contribute when needed. So we need 16, 17 players who are just ready to start. We don't need players who have not played for 5-6 games, who just need a couple of games to get up to speed. So I like the fact that we're rotating a squad, that Fraser's getting games, etc. And I'm just looking at the fixtures coming up, and I've been looking at some of the fixtures. Oh, there's a point that someone made. I think it was Chris at the beginning. He made a point that Wolves are not out of it. Wolves are in 8th place. They've won 7 games. Yeah. They're above Leicester in the league. I don't think Wolves are going to get pulled into it. I do believe Brentford, Palace. You never know because it's still Vieira's first season. He's still figuring it out. But yeah, there are a large glut of teams that will get sucked into it. Brentford could go down. Brighton, they start the season well. If you look at the form guide, the bottom 6, there's a lot of teams, even any team from, say, 9th to 13th, I guarantee some of them are probably in the bottom 5 of the form guide.
Yeah.
So, and another thing, guys, I'm trying to be optimistic. After Man U and Everton, I don't see Everton as too much of a tough game, but have you guys realised that after Everton and Southampton, we've actually got back-to-back games against Watford and Leeds? We've got Watford at home and Leeds away.
Yeah.
So do you think that could have? So we have Watford at home on the 14th of January. and we have Leeds away on the 21st. Do you think that's more of a trigger to get players in quickly, like first week, so that we can get them trained up and bedded?
Got to be done.
Because those are 2 games. We can get 6 points from those games. So surely we just get players in, get them in by the 5th of January, get them trained up with the squad for a week, get them used to the team, obviously their teammates. So, I mean, you made a point as well, Chris, said about our transfer strategy. Who are we getting in? Are we going to get players that we're going to put in a relegation release clause from? Or are we going to get players who we can just stick around for 18 months, maybe move them on? I'm really not sure. And there's been a lot of momentum about us being linked with Martial on loan. I'd grab him with both hands, to be honest.
1,000,000%.
It's just a loan. Loan with the option to buy. Obviously, if we go down, he's not coming. But he knows that there's going to be, if we stay up, he knows that there's going to be more players coming in September or in summer. Now, him and ASM played together, or they must know each other from the Monaco Academy. Surely he can just give him a shout and say, look, just come and play for us till the end of the season. We don't like it, or if we both get relegated, then we'll both go. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Someone like that, we need a proven Premier League scorer to come in, even if it means rotating him with Wilson. Yes, Wilson's going to score us goals, but we need someone else who can just come in. Right, Wilson, you sit on a bench for a couple of games, play Martial or someone else up front. He's available, and I just think it's a realistic option.
Definitely,
we've got the money. We can afford him 100%. And I think you made a really good point. You know, with the Watford and the Leeds games coming so soon after the Cambridge game in the FA Cup, you want those players ready. If anything, the Cambridge game early in January gives us an opportunity for the first week and a half to actually sign players. And if we go into that Watford home game with the likes of Trippier potentially having his home debut and maybe one or two others coming in early doors, and I'd like to see those deals being finalised in the next week. I'd love to be able to hear that Trippier's deal's done. I'd love to hear that one or two others are in the pipeline or close to being done, so that when we go to Watford at home, with the fact that Ismail Assar, if fit, will be on African Cup of Nations duty, along with a number of others at Watford, and we can go and exploit that and get 3 points, then go to Leeds, who have still got a massive amount of injuries, that are not playing well, and exploit them because their defensive situation is a shambles at the moment. And those 6 points could completely transform our season. That's without forgetting that we could go to Southampton on the 2nd of January and win, and we can go to Everton and win. And already we get results against those teams, and you're right in what you said. Well, they're games that we can win. That transforms our season there.
Yeah, it does.
Because I don't see the same teams around us getting that many points in that period of time. And that could propel us right out of danger. And what that also does, it gets the likes of other players thinking, okay, maybe they're not in a relegation battle. Yeah, I can see where their future's going. We know they're a big club. We know they've got a lot of money. We know that they're ambitious, but at the moment they're sitting out of the relegation zone. I can join them and take them further out. I might sign for them. So those performances are not only taking us out of there, it's encouraging other potential players that might want to come to us. They won't want to see us 6 points, 8 points, 9 points adrift. They might see us 3 points out of the relegation zone and still fighting and think, you know what, we've got enough to get out of this. So it's a great question.
If we were sitting 10 or 12 points away from safety, I would be concerned. But the fact that we're still within touching distance of getting out of it, and we've had this horrendous run, and we've got a fantastic opportunity in the January transfer window, everything points towards us as the ones who can leap out and get out of it.
Exactly. As I said earlier, goal difference is a concern. But after the Leeds game, I think there's an international break.
I think it's the FA Cup round. So
that's it.
Round. But if we're not in it, we better be. We better be in it. But
you know what? I think this season, we should just throw the FA Cup, and just focus on staying up.
No way. It's a great question. People in the chat, should we throw the FA Cup to focus on the league, or should we go for both? It's a great question. I personally think we should go for both. We've got Cambridge. We should go through to the next round.
It's different. If you're 15th, 16th in the league, fair enough. But the thing is, I just don't know. I just don't. It's a tough one, a really tough one. But yeah, we're not. I'm not. I don't mean to be pessimistic, but I don't think we're going to win it this year. From next year onwards, we don't have to be thinking like this. But I'm just saying, this is the last time we have to realistically think about it.
It is. It is.
And I think we should really consider throwing it.
It's a great point, Seb. We'll put it out to the chat. We'll see what they think. But we've got other guests on. Really appreciate your time. Made some fantastic points, Seb, and please do come back and obviously share your points. Obviously, I know from the London Boys chat, you make some great points on there, and keep doing your thing. Hopefully, you'll come back again soon.
Just one last thing as well, guys. Yeah. Very last thing. Have a look at our February fixtures. I'm just going to read them out very quickly, right? Everton at home, Villa at home, West Ham away, Brentford away. So we could have a good start to the year.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah,
very, very interesting.
Definitely.
We'll definitely get into that for sure. But Seb,
right,
appreciate your
have
time.
week, yeah.
And
cheers,
you yeah. Top man, Seb. Speak to you soon, mate. Great to hear from Seb. Really, really good points as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on points. And you know what? I'm going to move swiftly on because we've got guests coming out of our ears. And I've said to the guests, come with two main points that you want to talk about. We'll discuss them, and then we'll move on because I want to get everyone on tonight.
It'll be Christmas, won't it?
I know, mate. Tell me about it. But we've got a regular in the show, welcoming Tony. How you doing, Tony?
Yeah,
Hi,
not
Tony.
too bad, you.
Not too bad, not too bad.
Yeah.
What are your 2 points? Throw your
Right.
2 points out.
Well, first thing I just want to say, first of all, before we go on to the points, is my thoughts are with the family of that fan who passed away yesterday outside the ground. That's what I want to say, first of all, anyway.
Thank you. Great point.
Yeah, good point, mate.
Yeah, so
Very sad,
horrible to hear that, but very, very sad. And yeah, our condolences with the family that are affected. You should never ever go to a football match and not expect to go home.
No.
I know that point's already been made, but it absolutely should stick. You should never ever go to a football match and then not go home. So massive condolences to the family that are affected by that.
Absolutely.
Brilliant point to start with, Tony. Your 2 points, then talk to us.
Yeah, obviously on transfers, January coming up, which is only a couple of weeks away, to be fair, which is lovely to see because this is what we need, a January window. Now, I know yesterday Jimmy Redknapp said it and so did Carragher, we need a whole new defence, basically. Lascelles needs to go, Clark needs to go. Clark needs to go on a free transfer in January, I'm sorry, just get rid. He is useless. I don't know if Dubravka gave him a shout or what, because Dubravka didn't look happy when Clark left it. So I don't know if it was a mix-up between the two of them. But Clark should have been there and just headed that, really, and got either knocked out for another corner or whatever. But he should have just cleared that, basically. Yeah, there's a lot of talk that Trippier is obviously coming in. Apparently that's a done deal, apparently, if you want to believe newspaper reports. I would like Tarkowski in the centre. And I know it's probably a long shot, but I would like Cody alongside him. Them two would just improve the defence straight away.
Yeah.
And then if we could get a left back, I wouldn't mind Zinchenko from City. He's not a bad left back. And, and he's a natural left back as well. I mean, I know we've got Lewis, who's been playing well, and I feel sorry for him actually getting injured against Liverpool the way he did. Because he had a couple of cracking games, didn't he? And up until that point. And then obviously we need another striker for Wilson.
Yeah.
Just to cover Wilson because, we ain't got anybody else apart from Gale and he's not getting a chance, so they may as well just get rid of Gale. We need a creative midfielder. Don't think we've had a decent one since Johan Cabaye.
Yeah, no. Great.
Cabaye was class when he was here. So we need somebody who can create in the midfield, and obviously a backup to Dubravka, somebody who can push him, so he's not looking back and thinking, "Oh, it's only Darlow on the bench. I'm fine. I'm safe." You need a top keeper behind you, thinking, "Oh, well, if I don't play that well this week, I could be thrown out, and he'll be in, and then he'll see his chance." I know somebody mentioned Dean Henderson. Another name I was thinking of is Sam Johnson from West Brom. He's not a bad keeper.
Contract's out in the summer as well. He's
And he's
contracted
an
out in the summer, West Brom.
Yeah, and he's in the England team.
Mm.
January, you could say to West Brom, "We'll give you $1 million or a couple of million from him," and I'm sure they would snap your hand off, especially if he's not signing a new deal. You know, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I was going to say, I'm interested to hear some of these names, Chris, that have been mentioned by Tony, and one or two that haven't really been talked about that could be interesting. Zinchenko being one of them, and potentially Sam Johnson. What are your thoughts about the points that Tony's made?
Yeah, no, really good suggestions there, Tony. I mean, I'd snap your hand off for Zinchenko. Every time I watch him for City, he always looks pretty good. And do you know what really stands out for me about him? Pep trusts him. Pep really trusts him, and I think, but he's probably one of those players where he probably would let him go, in terms of he's not like your out and out first team player. So I think if a good offer came in for Zinchenko, I do think he would be willing to let him go. He probably wouldn't want to see him go, but Zinchenko is probably the type of player who wants to play week in, week out, and I don't think Pep would stand in his way. Because if he came to Newcastle, obviously he'd be first choice left back. But yeah, I'd love Zinchenko. I'm not 100% sure on Sam Johnson, only because I've not seen much of him, if I'm honest. But I've heard he's a prospect, and certainly as a number two, I think he'd come. I think he will come to be number two to Dubravka, in the hope that he would kick on. I mean, look what Adam Ramsey did at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Adam Ramsdale. Look what Adam Ramsdale did at Arsenal. He joined as the number two, with the idea to battle Leno, and now he's undisputed number one, isn't he, at the club?
Yeah.
So it could definitely work, and I do agree. I've said this for a while, that I think of the four keepers we've got, I definitely sell Darlow, because I don't think he's ever going to be top. The only two I would keep, which sounds crazy, the only two I would keep is Dubravka and Mark Gillespie. And the reason I'm saying I keep Mark Gillespie is he's a local lad, and he would be happy to be third or fourth choice. He's just made up to be there. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think you'd ever see Mark Gillespie get that many appearances. He'd probably get the odd cup game. If there was a major injury crisis, he'd get a game. But you need players who not happy to sit on the bench, but ones who are happy to be part of a squad and are just happy to be there. And don't forget, he's probably not on a big salary. So to have someone like him, we had that a little bit in Rob Elliott, didn't we? He was quite happy to stay at Newcastle. And then in the end, they got rid of him. And I reckon the reason they probably got rid of him is because he wasn't on a bad salary. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, because we only picked him up cheap, if you remember, from Charlton for 100 grand.
That's right. And then I think he got a new contract, didn't he? But I think Pardew rated him quite highly, and I think he got a half decent contract, and then that's why they got rid of him.
Yeah, he wasn't a bad keeper, was he?
No, he wasn't. No.
He never let the side down when he come in.
No, he's a great shot stopper. I think he was limited elsewhere, but he was a great shot stopper.
Yeah, he's at Watford now, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's on their bench now, so not a bad second choice for them.
No, not at all.
No. Great points as always, Tony. I'm going to have to stop it there.
Very quickly. My second one was about the. My second point was going to be about the referees. Obviously against Liverpool. Now, when Fraser went down, I know Trent Alexander got that ball, but he went in from behind Fraser. So technically, he touched his calf before he actually touched that ball. So that should have been looked at as a penalty. And yesterday, how that was never given really annoyed me yesterday, because I thought, what's going on here? And if they're saying, if the referees on field's not give it as a penalty, VAR can back the referee up and say, oh, well, it's not a penalty, but hang on a minute. They should have intervened and said, hang on, go and have a look at the monitor, because you need to have a look at that. I mean, Cancelo had the ball, but Edison come out like a madman.
Yeah.
And technically, I don't know if he should have been sent off for that, but it definitely could have been at least a yellow card.
What do you think?
It was a foul.
Do we think?
I don't know how they haven't given it. I struggle. I'm not saying he's purposely done it, and I'm not saying that, it's a pen. It's a pen all day long. It's a pen. He shouldn't have done it, but it's a penalty. He's took him out in the box, and it's a penalty. People can say, "Oh, well, he wasn't going to get near Cancelo," and the ball wasn't near him, so in that case, it doesn't matter. Of course, it matters. He's took the player out in the box, and it's clear and obvious.
Reckless.
Like Shearer said last night.
My point on that, by the way, boys, and I'm glad you've brought this up, Tony. My point on that is the referees always overturn it. VAR always overturn it if it's clear and obvious.
Yeah.
If that referee had given that penalty, would it have been overturned? No.
No, it wouldn't be. No,
it wouldn't.
That's the shocking part of it, though, with VAR. They don't, But like Shearer said last night, that was a Stonewall penalty.
Yeah.
Even Jamie Redknapp said that. He says, "I don't buy the excuse that he's had control of the ball. The fact is, he was wiped out." And Jamie Redknapp says, basically, now you can go around wiping any player out in the penalty area if you haven't got the ball. And it's, and I'm glad the club have put a formal complaint about the refereeing.
It's bad.
Because Mike Dean should never have refereed a Liverpool game when he lives across the Mersey. How does that work? We can't even get a referee from Durham to referee our games. So how comes he can referee a Liverpool game? Shouldn't be allowed.
Love that comment, by the way. He's a player we've never spoke about, but I've been watching him for the last few weeks for Southampton. Another one. I think he's a loanee from Chelsea. Brozier. He looks dangerous. He looks a great player.
Is he Ukrainian or something, or Bosnian, something like that? Isn't he?
I'm not sure on his nationality, but I know he's on loan from Chelsea, and he's big, awkward, but he's one of those players where when you're watching him, you think, he's not got that great a touch because he's a big lad. He has.
Yeah, he has.
He looks really technical.
Yeah.
He could be one to keep a lookout on.
Yeah.
Maybe not this season, but beyond. But I do think that if we get past this season and we stay in the league, we'll definitely be looking beyond that type of player. But he's doing a great job for.
To be fair, we're not that far away from. I mean, we're only 3 points behind Watford, and if you look at after Man United game, I mean, we could still get at least a point out of that game because Man U aren't the greatest team. They're nowhere near the likes of City and Liverpool, unfortunately. But the thing is, if we get at least a point out of that, then you look at you've got Everton, then you've got Southampton, then you've got Watford, then you've got Leeds, and then Everton again. If you look at them 5 games, you need to at least get 9 points out of them, at least 9. But if you've got, say, all 5, for instance, that's 15 points. That puts you on 25 points. That puts you in a totally different position.
I agree.
And with a January window and a good spend, which we will do, then, who knows?
You're right. It's a great point, Tony. And I think, it will all, as I said to Seb when he was on the call, it will also encourage other players to see if we're pushing up the league that we're a team that are kind of going places, or certainly not looking as down in the doldrums as we sort of do right now. So those games are crucial. But I'm going to have to move on from this point because we've got you're still waiting in there. But Tony, thank you as always. Really appreciate your questions, and feel free to come back.
I will do that.
Anytime, because your opinions are really appreciated. So here we go.
Have a nice Christmas, lads.
Take care, Tony.
Thank you. Thanks.
All the best, mate.
All the best.
Definitely. Right. We're going to have to shoot through. I think. Well, I think we're going to be struggling right now because I think Steve may have a show very, very shortly. I apologise in advance, but we'll just get one more guest on, and I apologise to the other two, but I did promise this guest that I would get him on because we've not seen him for a while. So welcome in, Jeff. How you doing, Jeff?
It's me. Hello.
Hey, Jeff.
Great to see you. Right. Well, quick point. I think it's time we've redefined our relationship with the players a bit, isn't it?
Definitely.
Because, everything's different. Did you enjoy Stones' trial?
Stones' trial?
Yeah. Did he not have a little trial on the pitch the other day?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
for St
Yeah.
James's Park.
Yeah.
Potentially a move in the summer if we stay in the league, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I know you're keen, and Chris is very keen to spend this money. All right, he's, Wilson not good enough. We need someone else. Yeah,
Get it out, get it out, get it out.
Definitely.
It's this pyramid selling is going to your head. I about the players, ASM, that's pretty obvious. Did you know it's the end of the game? Wilson's still trying to do the 3-man press thing, and he's pointing, and Allan Saint-Maximin is sort of trogging it in there with his bandages. I'm not going to steal Daniel's joke, but let's hope it's a chrysalis who's going to turn into a butterfly. That's my version. So I'm going to do very quickly. 10 years ago, I made a list of all the strikers we were listed as being linked to. And this was in the summer window, because if you remember, we had this big, tall, lanky Geordie guy disappeared off in January. Oh, we're going to get a replacement. Chris, how many strikers were we linked to by the press in the transfer window 10 years ago?
So I take it you mean when Carroll was sold?
I have a list, right? and in the summer of 2011,
okay,
we were linked to how many strikers do you think we were listed to? Because Pete knows this.
I would say 30.
Cool, not bad. Not bad. 38.
Oh,
38.
I mean,
I've got a list of
it's
them
still
all.
ridiculous. Like,
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Crazy.
That's the way the press works. So I made a list of them. 38 strikers. We didn't get any of them, by the way. No. Which is another point. So there's going to be an awful lot of nonsense in the press about who we're going to get. But the main point is we do need oven-ready transfers, really, don't we? We need to go straight there, ready to play. Apart from that, I don't really have a lot of points to make. I mean, everyone's made perfectly good points about the way we're playing. And who would have thought that that Hayden and Richie would be not the first on the team sheet anymore, if you know what I mean? Because Richie's fine, but all this gesturing, this is how you defend. You point at people, right? Yeah. look, it's over there. Wave your arm in the air, which is Lascelles' way of doing it. Along with this sort of WWE style of defending, which is, it's all right, but it's a little bit dangerous. I said it last time I was on, I said it's going to be a shambles, and it has been, but it's just a different sort of shambles. And it's nice seeing more of a shambles in their end of the game. Apart from that, thanks for having me on.
No,
and I think we should all just carry on staying positive. It's great how positive everyone is. We're still going. Well, we'll still beat them 4-0, but it's they're a proper team. These Manchester teams, they're quite good. Some of them.
Definitely. And you know what, Jeff? I think that's a great way to finish the show on. I have to say, because we need to stay positive, and that's what I said after the Man City game. We're playing the elite teams, not just in the Premier League, but in Europe right now. And we have to remember that when we come against these teams, that they're quality players, and we need to remain positive. As Seb said earlier, and Tony said the same, after Man United, we've got a run up until the end of February against teams that we can get points against. And that's what we need to focus on, because they are the games that are going to define our season 100%. But look, great points as always, Jeff. More so than anything, it was just great to have you on. I know we couldn't get you on a couple of weeks ago, so it was great to have you back and lighten up our show. And you can see by the chat that everyone is very happy to see you on our show this week. But absolute pleasure as always. I'm going to leave with one of these. That's
great, guys.
Having you back on, Jeff, but really appreciate it. Thank you all for those that came onto the show. I know it's been a bit of a quick wrap up, but Steve has got a show at 9:00 tonight, any second now, and we will be back as always with the fans forum. We've got guests coming out of our ears this week, and I apologize to one or two that are waiting in the wings. We couldn't get to see you this week. You guys will be first on next week without a doubt. Always lots to talk about with all things Newcastle United. As always, it's a pleasure to be alongside Chris to talk through all of your points tonight. Thank you, as always, and you guys. You know, we said it from the Christmas video that was put out by Holly earlier. You guys make this show just as much as the guests do, because your comments are always valid, great points, great talking points, and the guests that come on always appreciate how positive you are about them coming on, because it's never easy coming on to a show and talk Newcastle United live. So we appreciate everyone that's done it. We'll be back next week, but we will wish you all a fantastic Christmas from all of us at Fans Forum. You guys take care. Have a fantastic week. Lots and lots of shows available from Steve, from Loaded. Stay tuned. Lots to come this week in the build up to Christmas. Have a fantastic week, whatever you're doing. Stay positive, guys. There is still fight in the dog yet. Take care and speak to you soon.
See you guys.
Head back with the critics' attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's